Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm gonna be giving you part 32 of What If Naruto Was the Otsutsuki King. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune because I'm gonna be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was Born in the Uzumaki clan. So stay tuned for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And over on Anime King 2, I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Pushed Himself to His Limit. So stay tuned for that and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Begin the intro. So the last time we left off, with her new jutsu, Mito was able to finish off Kakazu, but her arms were damaged because of the Rasen Shuriken, seeing that she doesn't know how to throw it yet. As they came back to Konoha, Sasuke also came back to Konoha as well. Tsunade saw the look on his face as she asked him what happened. As the tremors were going through the earth, each nation could feel them, knowing that something terrible was going on. As Sasuke decided to tell her what is happening, as Jiraiya was there as well. Jiraiya and Tsunade were beyond shocked to hear that Naruto was facing off against the legendary Sage of Six Paths. Could that be even possible? And to hear that Naruto was their brother? And that made the group even more confused. Meanwhile, we skip to the battlefield as Naruto has finally ascended past his normal form, two horns standing up in his head, as he had an eye on his forehead, the Jogan, and in his eyes are six-star pupil, black and white in one. As he told them to stand down, not believing him, that they stood no chance. The battle began as they started to clash against each other. Attacks after attacks. With the both of them combining their deadliest attacks, Naruto even kicked the sage right out of his Susanoo. That sent him spiraling down to the ground. As they were continuing fighting, they realized that Naruto was far above their mother. As Hagoromo raised his hand up in the sky and called down meteors. At Konoha, Mito saw that as she was along with Ino. Knowing that only one person she knew that could do that, she rushed towards the office. As Sasuke was there, Mito wanted to go and check on her brother, but Tsunade told her no. As she already sent some envoys to check out the situation and see what exactly is going on. As, even though Mito protests, Tsunade still told her no. As Naruto told Sasuke to tell Tsunade to not let anyone come here, because he was sure that if they get caught up in this, they will die. Naruto destroyed all the meteors as he sent a spear made from the meteor rocks down towards Hagoromo, who destroyed it. Hamura, seeing that his brother was the only one who can stand up to Naruto right now, and he needed a boost, he allowed his brother to drain all of his power, absorbing him in a way, as his brother just vanished into the dust. As him and Naruto clashed against each other, both of them throwing attacks after attacks, as Hagoromo put in a powerful strike in his hand, smashed it in Naruto's chest. Naruto was sent sailing as he crashed through a couple mountains. As Naruto created a ball of pure destructive energy, as he smashed it down on Hagoromo, he also created those spears in the sky and rained them down on Hagoromo that tear through the fabric of the earth, shaking everywhere around the world. When all of the chaos and explosion was finished, the only thing that was left of Hagoromo was his top half, as he lied there dying. After his death and after him and Naruto talked, Naruto sensed something coming, as he was surprised this early. Looking up in the sky, he saw at least 50 people descending upon the earth, but the one in front of them as he landed, his name was Dezak the Will Breaker. It was Naruto's brother. He told Naruto about his father, that his father sent around the other Otsutsukis to plant trees, and when they brought him the fruit, he ate it, so that his body, his power could be strong as he passed it down into his offsprings. The god of death, along with another race, wanted the father to go down, so they set up a trap for him, a poison that was even lethal to him that rot his body from the inside. As Kaguya and the exact mother was chosen to be the two bearing offsprings for the father, but Kaguya didn't want her son to be a part of that anymore. She wanted to leave the planet for a long time. But unknown to Dizak, Ishiki was the one that actually allowed Kaguya to leave. Because Ishiki was so loyal to him, he never questioned Ishiki. As he then created a throne, he sat down as he told Naruto that he doesn't fight unless his opponent is worthy enough. As all of the Otsutsukis around Naruto erupted, all of them changing in a way or another. Back at Konoha, Tsunade could feel it, everyone could feel it, the air was saturated with so much power. As Naruto stepped forward, ready to go up against an army. So yeah guys, that was basically that's where we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So, what is we begin this new episode? We begin this episode with Yujiro and Tenzo and another envoy that was wearing a hot mask. Each of them were wearing their masks. As the group finally came to a stop, Tenzo looked over, there was no more trees for them to hop on. Nothing. Over this era, the place was completely destroyed. Yeah, this definitely has something to do with Naruto, said Yujiro. As Tenzo looked around, it was then a massive explosion tear through the earth. As they all had to jump away, the backlash tear through everything. As Tenzo and the others looked over, they see two beams flying in the sky. One of them was sent crashing to the ground violently. Back over towards the battlefield, Dizaka was sitting down in his throne. Beside him was Momoshiki, and behind Momoshiki was Kinshiki. Momoshiki looked over. "How long are you going to allow this to happen, my lord?" he said. Momoshiki was one of Dizak's most loyalist followers. "Well, as you can see, he is doing quite well." "It seems I misjudged him," said Dizak. "But it's nothing to worry about." As Dizak kept a keen eye on Naruto, Naruto flipped through the air and landed. No longer had his blade in his hand. He drove them through two other Otsutsukis, and he had to move away because the others disintegrated their body with some kind of blast that nearly took off his hands. As he looked around, he was still surrounded and there was a great number of them. A chain was shot towards Naruto with tremendous speed. Stomping on the ground, an ice mirror was created that blocked the chain. Naruto then had to duck several beams that came towards him that teared through the ground. Flipping around, Naruto held out his hand as several swords made in the skies they rained them down towards the earth. As he opened his palms, a beam of pure destructive energy could be seen humming from his hands. He released as it tore through the ground, spinning as he released it. One of the beams were coming towards Dizak. He simply raised his hand as a golden shield came up and blocked Naruto's beam away. As Naruto narrowed his eyes over at Dizak, but that was the wrong thing for him to do as a chain lashed onto his leg. He was pulled to the ground violently as a feet smashed into the back of his head. His head was brutally crushed into it. A punch then smashed into his face, knocking him forward before another chain lashed onto his hand. Before he could go anywhere else, another chain lashed onto his other hand. The chains were holding him as another chain lashed on around his stomach, pulling him down into the ground. Naruto started to get back to his feet as a chain started to shake, but several beams crashed into him, blowing his body back as they were dreadful as steam could be seen coming from him. But Naruto still got back up to his feet. It was then that he was assaulted. Dizak looked over. "It seems like I misjudged him. He's not worthy my time." As Dizak got off his throne, Naruto was pulled down to the ground violently, still surrounded by at least 40 Otsutsukis. All of these being Dizak's top lieutenants and his generals. Dizak walked over with a smile on his face. "Well, brother, it seems like you weren't worth my time after all." As Dizak looked down at Naruto, "This earth, this entire place has made you weak. If you were by my side, then you would have probably been my second in command, while the both of us scour the entire universe and do as we please. But even with all your power, it seems you still cannot stand up against my lieutenants. So what say you, brother? Will you bow down to me, and I will give you a quick, painless death? Or will you drag this out and suffer a long, excruciating death? Because it doesn't matter how this plays out. I will take what is owed to me. I will break your will and get the rightful power that I seek to sit on that throne. So what say you, brother? He asks. Naruto said nothing. This acts smirk. Alright, boys. Show him hell. As they unleash another wave of attack that crashed into Naruto as he was sent buried into the ground. As Naruto's entire body was going down, memories start to flash through his mind. Seeing the smiling face of Mito. Seeing Ino, when she told him that she wanted to be with him. Seeing Fu, that he treated also like a little sister. Everyone. This exact smirk as he felt the ground rumbling. It was then a powerful energy was unleashed as the Zack stepped back. Well, it seems you still have some fight left in you. The chains that were attached to Naruto were ripped to shreds, making the Otsutsuki eyes went wide. It was then that Naruto blinked away with so much speed. A cracking sound could be heard as they turned to see one of their fellow man. Naruto's hand was around his neck that was now snapped into two. As Naruto thrust his body to the side, his head was looking down. The other Otsutsuki turned towards him. They looked at their numbers, there were still enough of them. They would not fail. He was just one man after all. But they were extremely wrong. Momoshiki noticed that as Naruto snapped his head up, all of his eyes were just humming with so much power as he launched himself into the group. As the massacre started, heart, neck, arms, everything started to be ripped. He was moving with so much tremendous speed, body parts were flying. Naruto extended both of his hands as a brutal wave smashed into all of them. He then pulled them back towards him. As they were coming towards him, his entire body erupted with spikes that tear through most of them. Going up in the sky, Naruto held up his hand. As his hand started to hum, waving them down below, lightning started cracking off of them. As Naruto launched the lightning whips down, the moment the whips touched one of them, it ripped right through their entire body, turning them into nothing but ashes. As Naruto landed with the whips and started to walk them around, everyone that got touched got incinerated by the pure force of electricity that was traveling through the whips. Thrusting the whips away, Naruto raised his hand up in the sky. It was then a small ball of energy started to form. As the other Otsutsukis that remained looked around at their dead comrades, in a matter of seconds he turned the tide against them. Was this the true power of the so-called Otsutsuki king? They already know that Nizak was supposed to be the king, but his brother was also there to fight him, to see which one of them to get the throne. But now they realize that none of them are in his league. Through all of this, Naruto said nothing, just going on the onslaught. The ball in the sky started to grow in size. The thing started to hum and glow. And they didn't realize he was making a miniature sun. They all tried to move away from him, but a force wrapped onto them that pulled them so violently, their bodies smashed right into the mini sun. Their body was taken straight up in the sky, all the limbs and all the dead ones on the ground. Despite their sheer amount of force and their power, they stood no chance when the giant ball of energy erupted. As it erupted like a volcano, just exploding, heat everywhere. As Zack looked up at the show, despite his man being killed, he had a smile on his face as Momoshiki and Kinshiki just looked at him. As the two of them realized that they were the only one left. Looking around the field, everyone was dead. Naruto lowered himself down to the ground. As you could see, sweat building on his brow, but other than that he was fine. Blood covered all over him. As he looked forward towards Zack, Zack stepped forward. I must say, that was quite impressive. Killing all my soldiers like this. One of the other soldiers was still alive. As he was down on the ground, he crawled over to Zack. Sir, help me, he said. Zack looked down with a disgraceful look on his face before driving his foot down right into the man's face as he squashed it completely. I hate weaklings, he said. As Momoshiki stepped forward along with Kinshiki. You two stay back, he said. Despite the both of you being strong, I don't think that you can handle him. And besides, I still have use for the both of you. You have not failed me yet. It was then that Naruto finally spoke. You treat your man like they are playthings, like they don't really matter to you. Well, when you rule an entire platoon, an entire planet of strong, powerful beings, you can afford to use some of them expendable. But you will never know that feeling, because you're not worthy enough to sit on that throne. I can say it now, brother. Despite your gruesome strength that you just showed, you're still not ready. I don't know whether it's this planet, or that you're just that much weaker than me. But trust me, you are not on my level. Naruto said nothing as he stepped forward. The exact smirk. You want to know something, brother? The reason they call me the will breaker is because I make people submit to my will by breaking theirs. To see that look of pity, that look of plead in their eyes, to make them know that they are nothing to me, to make them feel like they're going to die right now. That look, which they beg for their miserable life, that is what I live for. And in your eyes right now, I only see power and fury. You're not scared, but you should be. Because in a few minutes I'll show you why they call me the will breaker. The Zack then stepped forward. Every step he took, the ground trembled under his feet. His entire cloak, the top half, was burned off, showing his body, to show that he had a quite ripped figure. As he stepped forward, that smile in his face. It was then his entire body started to hum with just pure power. Naruto stood there, and for once in a very long while, he was shocked. Because the power he was feeling from the Zack was abnormal. And he couldn't believe that he was saying this. He felt like he was being squashed under just the weight of his power. And the Zack hasn't even done anything yet. His mind then drifted to what Hagoromo said to him, that Zack is unnormal. Despite the both of them should be on the same level, because the both of them are just two halves of one coin that were supposed to be merged together. The Zack was greatly stronger than him. How are you this strong, Naruto asked. The Zack stepped forward. After years upon years of taking planets and resources, I realized that some people out there in the universe are still powerful. You know that you're powerful, brother, but the universe is a vast place. For one to conquer the entire universe, you need power. Power that you can't even imagine. So that is why I strive to get stronger. Unlike you, you thought that power you had in your body was the only thing that you could reach. Was that your max? But you're incredibly wrong. But it doesn't matter now I tell you what I did, because you're going to be dead in a few minutes. It was then that this entire body erupted in a silver glow. Unlike the normal golden glow that he showed at the first, it was now silver, as he had the same eyes as Naruto. Despite my overwhelming power than yours, brother, it seems we still have the same eyes. Well, once I take what I need from you, I suppose mine will change, he said. In a flash, the Zack vanished. As Naruto looked around, looking over the other two Otsutsukis, who just was looking at him, Naruto had to duck as the Zack feet appear out of nowhere, and it then vanished again. As Naruto looked around, something was wrong. Where the hell was he? Naruto then heard chuckling, as he had to move out of the way, as a fist nearly smashed into his face. He blinked again and looked around. He wasn't seeing the Zack anywhere, but he was seeing his feet and his hands appear, just like that. What the hell was truly going on? As Naruto looked, he couldn't see anything. Where was he? It was then he was grabbed violently in the back of the neck, before his head was smashed into the ground several times before he was able to push back the Zack. The Zack then jumped away. He landed with a smirk on his face. His body then dematerialized into nothing. As Naruto heard chuckling again. It seems like you're still not ready, bro. Before a fist connected into his face. The fist was so powerful, Naruto's body was sent sailing as he passed Momoshiki and Nishiki. He smashed into a large crater. Naruto coughed up blood as he reached his hands up and touched his jaw. It was pain. Despite fighting Hagoromo and Hamura, he never felt pain like this. To think about it, in his entire life, he has never felt pain this much. It was then that the Zack materialized right in front of him. He grabbed Naruto by the face before Naruto could even blink, and he thrust Naruto straight up in the air. The Zack then moved off with a speed that Naruto couldn't even follow, as he drove his foot down into Naruto's back. Crying out in pain, Naruto was sent sailing as he hit the ground a loud boom. The entire ground erupted underneath him because of the force. The Zack falls from the sky as he buried his knee into Naruto's back. Crying out in more pain, the Zack raised his two hands as he started to smash down hard in Naruto's back. A snapping sound could be heard before the Zack got up as he grabbed Naruto by the hair. He swung Naruto around and tossed him back up in the air. The Zack then opened up a strange portal right in front of him. Several balls of pure flames erupted from it as they smashed into Naruto's airborne body. His body was smoking as he crashed into the ground several meters away. Slowly picking up himself, he was coughing out blood violently as he dropped to his knees. Naruto raised his hand as he saw his blood. He couldn't believe what was happening. How was his brother so stronger than him? He then heard laughing to see the Zack right in front of his face. As Naruto was on his knees. Submit, brother. Like you see, you can't win. So, submit. The Zack got an angry look on his face as he could see it in Naruto's eyes. His will was not yet broken. It seems like you don't understand how outclassed and how outmatched you are. As the Zack stepped forward, a brutal kick planted in Naruto's face. His body was sent sailing. A distance away, Yujiro, Tenzo, and the other Anvu was there. It was then it happened. They heard a whistling sound as something tear right past them and smash into the ground. All of them turned their head as they heard coughing. Yujiro was surprised. Despite his change on his features, he could still see it in his face. Naruto, she said. Naruto's eyes went wide, wondering what the hell they're doing here. His voice was rasped because of all the blood. He was going to tell them to run, but it was too late. In a split second, the Zack appeared. What is this? He said as he looked around. I knew that you must have some people on this planet that you must see precious to you. I wonder, he said. Are these people them? It was then that the Anvus turned as they looked at the Zack. Just looking at the man, they felt their entire body shaking, as they felt a raw, overwhelming power just surging right in front of them. The Zack stepped forward, a smile on his face, looking at Yujiro. Seeing the woman on this planet, I must say, you are in top figure, he said. Well, the women's on High Hero are the best that I've seen in the universe. But you are not that bad, he said. In an instant, he vanished. Yujiro felt a hand placed on her shoulder before her mask was grabbed violently, as the Zack broke it into pieces, throwing it away. He looked at her with a smile on his face. How would you like to be one of my worshippers, he said. Yujiro wanted to do something, but she was scared to move. She felt like if she moved, she will die, as her entire body was trembling. He raised his hand as he placed on her cheek. Oh, no need to be fear, he said. I won't hurt you. As long as you pledge to be my worshipper, everything shall work out good for you. So what is your answer? What do you say, he asks. The Zack couldn't get an answer from her because a brutal fist connected into his face as he was blown back a bit. As Naruto held on to Yujiro, He whispered something in her ear as she shook her head slowly. The Zack rubbed his face. "Ah, so you still have some fight left in you, brother," he said. I see now. So you want to protect the people of this planet. You just disappoint me more and more. This planet is worthless. The sheer fact of them having abilities. They will never be able to rival us, years upon years. But yet you see these weaklings as friends, don't you? You don't want them to bow and respect you. You want them to be your friends. You keep on disappointing me over and over. But it's not your fault. If your whore of a mother did not run away, you would have probably been by my side. But one day we would have still fight. But you would have understood the true meaning of worship and royalty. And not make weaklings look like they're above you. I suspect on this planet no one sees you as a god. They might fear you, some of them, because of your power. But you don't take that fear. You. Disappointed. The Zack clenched his fist. "You're nothing but a big disappointment," he said. Before Naruto could even blink twice, the Zack appeared in front of him as he caught back his fist. But Naruto ducked under the fist. Extending his hand of force, smashed into the Zack. But he wasn't sent too far as he stopped himself. But the moment he looked back up, Naruto's fist drove into his face as he smashed into the ground violently. Raising his hand, several earth spikes came out of the ground as he were turned upside down and drive right into the Zack. Stepping back, Naruto raised his hand over his head as several shurikens were formed as he thrust all of the attacks as they all hit right in the center with a boom, shaking the ground once more violently. Yuji and the other envoys had already jumped away to a safe distance as Naruto told her that it's not safe to be here, telling her to run with all of her speed. She needs to get the hell out of here right now. Naruto wasn't done there though, as he raised his hand over his head as a dragon from each element was created: earth, fire, wind, water, and lightning. They all swirled together and formed, coming together to create a larger dragon, its entire body made up of the 5 elements. The dragon roared violently as it twisted down to the earth. It smashed right into the exact location, swallowing up everything in a bright boom. As Naruto jumped away from the backlash and the force, he raised his hands in the sky as he pulled meteors out of the sky. It came down with flames, enveloping them. As Naruto snapped his eyes towards them, white flames consumed the meteors. He brought them down as they all hit their targets with a boom, tearing through the earth, just destroying it even more. All over the nation, everywhere could see the meteors just raining from the sky. Earth, everything was just shaking violently. Windows, everything was breaking, even though they were a far distance away from any villages. But Naruto was still not finished yet. He was going to make sure this had never stand back up, as at least 50 golden blades appear in the sky, all of them just humming with pure, unbridled power. The blades all came together until they formed a blade that reached straight out of space because of the length. Naruto drive it straight down. The moment it made contact with the earth where the Zack was, the thing made a booming sound that teared through the sky, blowing away any clouds that might be in the sky. The entire earth shook violently as Naruto concentrated all the power on that one force. Squeezing his hand together, a small black ball was created. As he thrust it forward, the ball then started to glow with light until it started to break apart. A similar explosion to what later was going to turn into as it swallowed up the entire area. Naruto stepped back as he huffed a bit, feeling a bit exhausted. This was the first time he was pushing himself so hard, using so much power. But he had to make sure that this Zack died, because the man was just too strong for him to face right now. He had to give him everything. As Naruto watched waiting for the dust and smoke to clear. The ground was deep, as Naruto couldn't even see in there. The crater went deep down into the earth, as it would take at least a long while for an ordinary person, including a ninja, to go down there. It was deep, almost looking like it was breaking through the other side of the earth, but it wasn't really. As Naruto stood at the edge looking down in there, it was then he felt pain. Something burst out from the hole. As Naruto felt pain where his arm used to be. Yes, where his arm used to be. Looking where his left arm was, it was gone. The thing was completely incinerated by a golden beam that ripped it off completely. Naruto cried out in agony and pain as he collapsed to his knees. The moment he collapsed to his knees, a fist smashed into his face, breaking at least 4 of his teeth, as he was sent spiraling down into the ground. His face was grabbed roughly and smashed several times before he was thrown back with a violent force. As Naruto hit the wall hard, because of the meteors that he rained from the sky, there was like a fortress around them, made from pure meteors rock. Naruto hit one of them hard. His body didn't break through it though. As he saw, this act materialized right in front of him. The man only had few scratches on him, and his mouth was leaking blood. He wiped it away with a smile on his face. He had a puncture wound right in his stomach, but the thing was slowly healing. It seems like Naruto's power affects him in a bad way, because normally he will heal really fast. He looked over at Naruto as he looked at his hand. 3 of his fingers were missing, as the silver chakra came up and his finger regrew in seconds. He smiled. "Well, at least you did me some damage," he said. "That's not possible," Naruto said. For the first time, Naruto was taken aback as he merely shouted, "How? How did you survive?" he asked. "Well, you see, brother, your first few attacks did hit. That is what caused my features right now. But for some reason, I tried to absorb your technique, but it's not working. It seems like we can't absorb each other's powers. Well, it doesn't matter. Losing the arm, dear brother?" he asked. A golden glow started to hover where Naruto's arm was, but his act vanished as he appeared behind Naruto. "Do you really think I'm gonna stand and watch you regrow your arm? I told you, I'm here to break you, to make you submit to my will. And when you think that you have a chance to win, you won't be broken. So as long as you stand," Naruto felt the back of his head being grabbed roughly as this act threw him up in the air. "I will make sure I put you through living hell," this act said as he pushed off the ground. Back at Konoha, Mito was sweating as one of her feet were moving up and down. She was in the Hokage's office tapping her feet on the ground. The entire office was gloomy because they knew that something was wrong, something was terribly wrong. The fight has been going on for just too long now. As Mito wondered, is a sage of 6 path really that strong? Well, the man was said to be the god of this world, but her brother was just different from anyone else. Every opponent that he faced, he always crushed them no matter what. But to see the meteor still coming from the sky, she was afraid. She then felt a hand on her shoulder. As she looked over to see Sasuke, Sasuke was worried, but he had a small smile on his face, just for her. "It's gonna be alright. Do not doubt Naruto's strength. He told me to make sure that you don't worry because he will live, and he will return." As Ino was also sitting there, thinking about the possibilities that could happen. But she shook her head. Sasuke is right. Naruto is strong. He has never lost a battle before. And it will never happen. He's gonna come back, you're gonna see, with a smile on his face. As Tsunade was in her chair, her back turned to the group. Jiraiya was at the window. It was then the envoys came into the room slowly. All of them with a grim look on their face, as their masks were off. Hawk was not there, it was just Yujiro and Tenzo. "Report," said Tsunade. "Ma'am, we got there," said Tenzo. But the place was in ruins. Every tree, every wildlife, everything, it was just gone. Nothing but meteors and the earth that is breaking apart. Is my brother still fighting the sage alone? Asked Mito. The sage, said Tenzo. As he looked at Mito confused, Yujiro looked at her confused as well. The guy that Naruto is fighting, he looked just like Naruto. And Naruto's appearance has changed as well. His eyes, and he had an eye in his forehead. And he had horns. What? Said Jiraiya. As he was surprised to hear that. And the guy also looked similar to him, but he looked more mature. And he was beating him. What? Said Ino. Yeah, said Yujiro. Tsunade looked over at her. What do you mean beating him? Well, it seems like he was outclassing Naruto. And he moved so fast, it seems like Naruto was unable to keep up with his speed as well. But Naruto told us to run. Because there was something weird about him. Despite us wanting to fight back, it was just our body telling us that if we did, we would die. Mito got up as she started to walk away, but Sasuke grabbed her hand. Let me go, she said. I have to go see him. I have to help in some way. You know that is not possible. If Naruto is having a hard time with this person, it won't make sense if you go out there. They will just use you as leverage to make sure they can beat him even more. You remember what happened the last time? Mito lowered her head as she remembered when she almost died, and her brother had to take a beating because of that. But she clenched her fist. I have to do something. I can't just stay here, she said. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Naruto was on his knees, blood pouring from his eyes, his nose and his mouth. His body was in excruciating pain. His arm has not healed yet. He has used out so much of his power. It required power for his arm to regrow. And the Zack was not giving him a chance. A feet smashed into his face as his head hit the ground violently, knocking him down. The Zack smiled. Despite a little scratch here and there, he was totally fine. You understand, no brother? There is no possible way for you to beat me. Why can't you get that to your thick skull, he said, as he smashed his fist in Naruto's face, breaking Naruto's nose even more, as Naruto winced out in pain. As the Zack smashed his fist over and over again, as Naruto was seeing blurry in his vision. He could barely see because the blood was going into his eye. The Zack then stopped. The Zack clenched his fist even more. Why? Why do you still look at me with those eyes? Do you really think that you can still win? Do you really think that there's a small possibility chance of you winning? Just give up already. Stop looking at me with those eyes, the Zack said. He started to walk away as he turned his back towards Naruto. As Naruto slowly picked up himself, he coughed up a lot of blood. I've never lost a fight in my life before. Why would I start now? And to my own brother to say at least. And knowing what you want to do to the world and the universe, I will not stand for it. You will never break me, brother. The Zack flashed in front of Naruto as he stepped into Naruto's stomach. The Zack then smirked as he grabbed Naruto by the head, as Naruto's eyes went wide. The Zack was now walking around in a mist. He looked over as he saw Mito. She was playing. As he looked over to another section to see Ino kissing Naruto. He then heard something behind him. As he saw Naruto rushing towards him as Naruto released a primal scream. Get the hell out of my mind, he said. The Zack was blown out violently as he was pushed away from Naruto. The Zack got to his feet with a smirk on his face. As he looked over, scanning the entire place, the veins popping up at the side of his head. The smile got even wider. He then looked back towards Momoshiki and Nishiki, who were floating up in the sky to get away from all the destruction. It's time we finally break my brother, he said, as he grabbed Naruto by the hair. Back in the village. Let me go, said Mito. It doesn't matter, we have to do something, we can't just stay here. He will die out there. But Sasuke held a firm hand on her. As Sasuke, it was paining him to see her cry and act this way, but she can't go out there, and not to mention her arms. Her arms were still in the sling because of her recent attack that she did on Kakazu. If she go out there now, Naruto would never forgive him if he let Mito die. So he has to force her to stay no matter what. Hokage, we have to do something. For everything that my brother has done for this village. We can't just let him die out there. I agree with her, said Ino. We have to do something. Come on, we can't just let Naruto die. From the report that we got back, he's lucid. And we don't know how bad. As Ino then turned her head, the tremors, everything has stopped. Something is going on. We have to go check. Jiraiya looked over at Tsunade. Haim, he said. Tsunade was unsure what to do. If she sent her ninjas now, they will just get assaulted. She could feel the sure power through the air. And she was not even near the battlefield. And if this person was beating Naruto, what would they do to the rest of the ninjas? But before she could come up with something, they heard something crash into the village violently, blowing back a few houses. As they heard the screams of the people, Tsunade quickly got out of her chair as Jiraiya opened the window and hopped out. Meanwhile, Naruto was lying down in the center of the village, his arm still missing, blood coating his entire body. A giant hole right in his stomach. His eyes were closed. It was then that three figures came down from the sky. The people of the village looked over, as they were confused as hell. Who were these people? As they looked down at Naruto, most of them looking at his face, they could see resemblance between Naruto Uzumaki. But what changed him so much? As the three figures landed in the village, the moment they landed, they were surrounded by envoys and ninjas. As Kakashi stepped forward, he could tell, despite his changes, this was Naruto. As he kneeled down and placed a hand at Naruto's neck, he was still breathing, thank God. As Kakashi looked up, "Who are you people?" he said. "Oh, hello there. Are you the leader of this little village?" he asked. "I wasn't able to extract those memories from my brother's mind, so you have to enlighten me." "Oh, where's my manners? My name is Dizak. You can call me that as you wish. And that person down there you're checking on, he's my brother." "Your brother?" said Kakashi. "Yes, and he has something I need. But for me to get that, I have to break his will. But he doesn't want to give up that easily. But I can tell where I can break it. And these behind me are my associates. But they're not really the important factor right now. Tell me, where is his little sister? The one with the red hair. And also this other girl. She has blonde hair tied up in a ponytail." "Where is she?" said Isaac. It was at that moment Ino and Mito came running out of the office along with Sasuke as they rushed over to Kakashi. Mito wasn't paying any mind, neither did Ino, as he quickly saw Naruto say they weren't even looking up. "Kakashi stopped them, he's alive," he said, as both of them released a sigh of relief as they rushed over to him. "Ah, little sister," said a voice, as Mito looked up, as she watched as Dizak landed. "Well, given that the both of you are not related by blood, but I can see you have a special place in his heart. So you're his sister, through and through. So that makes me and you sister as well, doesn't it?" "Were you the one that did this?" Mito asked. "Of course I did. You see, your brother would just not stand down, so I had to show him that I am great and more mighty than him to finally get him to give up. But even now, he still has that look of defiance in his eyes." Naruto stirred a bit on the ground. Tsunade landed right on her tower. "You asked for the leader of the village, here I am. What exactly do you want?" she asked. Dizak looked around. "Oh, nothing much. This is my first time visiting this planet, and I must say, the girls here are quite a beauty. Earth, all along. This is where you've been hiding, brother." Mito then saw Naruto stir as he slowly opened his eyes. "Big brother," she said, tears already streaming down her face. "Naruto," said Ino. As Naruto looked up at both of them, realizing what Dizak was playing at. As he looked around to realize he was in the village, he cursed violently in his mind. Dizak entered his mind, but he wasn't able to push him out until he saw the image of Mito and Ino. As Naruto slowly got up to his feet, it was then that everyone saw the true, gruesome state of his body. His arm was missing, he was drenched in blood. Blood coming from his eyes, his nose and his mouth. There was a huge hole in his stomach, and despite that he was standing. "You see what I mean," he said. "My brother, he just won't give up no matter what. What do I have to do to make him bow down? Why won't he break?" "That is why I went into his mind. And that is where I found something interesting," said Isaac. And just like that, he vanished. Mito and Ino were surprised when Naruto was grabbed violently by Isaac. Isaac then vanished along with Naruto, as he was holding Naruto by the head, floating in the air. As all of the ninjas just looked at him dangerously, but yet still, they didn't move 1 inch, feeling like if they go up against him they will die. As Nadi was clenching her fist as Jerry was beside her, in case of anything, what could they do against his opponent? As Isaac looked around, he thrust Naruto down to the ground violently, as Naruto hit the ground a boom. If any of you are thinking about attacking me, just think to yourself, can you beat Naruto here? And if you can't, don't try or you all will die, he said. You have beaten him. What do you want? Snady asked. He told us that he has a brother out there, but he never said, or he didn't know what exactly you want. Was this it? Just to humiliate him and defeat him in front of everyone? Well, you got what you want, so you can leave now. Leave? Why would I do something like that? Said Isaac. I told you. Just look at his eyes. Despite everything, despite him losing an arm, he is still standing there like he thinks that he can win. Like somehow, someone's gonna come and save him. But he should know by now that he's gonna lose today. So why isn't he broken? Why is he begging for me to spare his life? Why? I know, I said Isaac as he raised his hand. There was a scream as Ino and Mito was pulled violently towards him. Naruto stretched out his hand, but Isaac raised the other hand as a force smashed into Naruto's face, burying him into the ground. Isaac then grabbed both girls by their throat. Still floating up in the air, none of the ninjas could do anything as they might harm Mito or Ino if they fire off any long-range jutsu. Inoichi arrived as he went through hand sign, placing his hand in his familiar hand sign. He tried to go dive into Isaac's mind. As he made contact, Inoichi found himself in a vast land where nothing was. The place was just empty and very cold. He then heard laughing. To think someone as you to be daring to enter my mind. You must be rather stupid. It was then that the place became incredibly hot. Everyone watching the real world as Inoichi started screaming pain and agony as the man collapsed over, foam coming out of his mouth. As a few rushed over to him to check his pulse, he was alive, but his pulse was weak. Get him to the medic, said Snady. Isaac shook his head. Stupid man. What was he trying to accomplish, said Isaac. Now, brother, he said, which one of them would you like to die? And which one of them would you like to survive? Choose. Choose wisely. I'm giving you one simple choice. It seems like you love these two the most in your heart. So, pick which one to die and which one to survive. Both girls were struggling to breathe as Isaac's hand was around their throat violently, squeezing it. As Naruto tried to pull himself up out of the ground. Answer me, brother, said Isaac. As Isaac saw a look in Naruto's eyes, he was still not broken. Isaac could just tell. He had seen many men over the years, many warriors that stand up to him, and after crushing their home and crushing all their belief, they went on their knees begging. But Naruto did not have that look on his face. Why? Why? It made Isaac furious and angry. You know what Isaac said? Never mind. He threw the both of them to the ground violently as they hit hard. I'll just kill them all, said Isaac. Besides, this planet, what is it? Nothing but earth and water and these stupid humans. His Byakugan then activated as he scanned the entire place looking down. He then held his hand out that started to hum with pure unbridled power before releasing a force that teared through the earth. A large silver beam. The beam went down and shot something in earth. It was then the entire place started to shake violently. Naruto coughed up some blood. What did you do? I told you, this world is not important, so I'm gonna end it and let you watch as all of them die. I can breathe out of space, and so can you. But none of them can, said Dizak with a smirk on his face. As Naruto Byakugan activated as well as he looked down, realizing what Dizak did, as he could see the core of the earth, Dizak sliced the thing in half. The entire world was shaking. Inside of the hidden stone, the place was breaking apart as Oniki was looking around. What the hell is going on? As Kurosaki fall off the decks that she was sitting on. Grandpa, she said. As they looked around, the entire place was shaking, the earth was breaking apart. Over at Kire, the entire ocean started to rise up and raining down on the village, washing away the people at the front. As people started screaming panic, inside the sand, terrible sinkholes started to appear, surrounding the village everywhere as the entire place started to shake. At Kumo, the mountains started to shake and break apart. The entire world, it looked like the apocalypse was going on. Naruto looked around back in Leaf Village as he saw everyone screaming and scared. Realizing if he doesn't do something, they all will die. He looked over at Mito and Ino as he mouthed the words to the both of them. I love you, he said. Before the both of them screamed out his name as he dived straight down into the earth. It only took a few seconds as he finally reached down there. His hand was still not growing at the rate that he wanted to. His power was really low. He could see the massive ball of energy, the core in the earth. The thing looked like a miniature sun as the thing was sliced in half. Stepping towards it, Naruto felt like his body was going to be burned. The thing was hot, but he pushed forward as his skin started to boil. But he stepped right in the center, holding out his one arm. A golden glow came around his body to protect him. Well, mostly. As a golden glow came around the core, Naruto let out a primal scream as the core was pulled back together. As his entire power washed over the thing, as he smashed it back together. Raising his one hand, the golden glow started to seep inside of it as it started to reattach. The moment it was fully attached, a pulse of energy burst out of it that smashed right into him as he was sent bursting through the ground as he collapsed back on surface. He heard his name being cried out by Ino and Mito, but he couldn't even see. His entire body was burned violently and was barely healing. Blood was seeping out of him everywhere. Meanwhile, Dizak had an interesting look on his face as he could see Naruto's determination to protect his people here. As a thought came to his mind, he chuckled to himself. He walked over still with an arrogant smirk on his face. He stepped on Naruto's head. It seems like you lost, brother. Let him go. Let him go, a voice said. As Dizak then felt that energy behind him erupt. As everyone had to move away, including Ino. As Mito exploded with the energy that went up in the sky. It was then the energy blew away to see Mito had changed completely. 4 menacing tails dancing behind her. Her fangs, her claws, her entire skin was burned off as she was in the 4-tail state. She looked over at Dizak with a growl on her face. Interesting. What's this? He said as he scanned her. Look like you have a beast in your stomach to give you power. But it doesn't matter, he said. As Mito launched forward, but before she could make contact with Dizak felt something shift under his feet as Naruto crashed right into Mito, grabbing her in mid-air. As he forced her back down to the ground, his entire body still burned badly. He took in a deep breath, his one arm wrapped around her, holding her tight as she tried to get out of his grasp. As she was moving around wildly, he then released a scream, screaming out her name violently. As she then stopped instantly, her eyes started to switch back to her normal eyes toward the fox's eyes. Calm down, he said. He coughed up more blood as Mito started to blink a few times until her eyes returned back to normal. Dizak smirked. Well, you protect one. Let's see you do the other. He flicked his wrist as a silver blade was created as he thrust it towards Ino with tremendous speed. Ino could only close her eyes, it was moving too fast. But she felt no pain. But she felt something splatter on her face. Slowly opening her eyes, tears started to leak from her eyes as she saw Naruto right in front of her, the blade passing right through his stomach. As he collapsed over, she quickly rushed over to him, trying to do her best at medical ninjutsu, but this act grabbed Naruto and threw him away. As Naruto smashed in the ground, Ino slowly picked herself up, as Mito did the same, Mito just coming out of her transformed state. "Big brother," she cried out, tears leaking from her eyes. Everyone else around could only watch at the sight, as Momoshiki and Ishiki was standing there as well, them releasing some force of energy that denied anyone else from stepping in the battlefield. As everyone felt their body just trembling, Sasuke had his fists clenched together as he pushed forward. As he made contact with Momoshiki, Momoshiki grabbed Sasuke's blade, surprising Sasuke before jumping and smashing a kick into Sasuke's stomach as he was sent sailing backwards, but Kakashi caught him. Sasuke picked himself up. "Are you okay?" Kakashi asks. "Yeah, I'm fine. But these guys..." "I know," said Kakashi. "They're above us. There's nothing we can do here. But if we let this go along, they will end up destroying the earth." As Kakashi had a grim look, as he knows Sasuke was right, but they couldn't stand up against these guys. There was no hope of winning for them. Snally was also standing there with her envoys and Jiraiya right beside her, with a grim look on her face. Even Jiraiya had it as well. They didn't see any way of winning this. If Naruto could not stand up to that guy, how could they win? And those two other Otsutsukis, they are blocking their path. Mito and Ino was crying as they tried to make it over to Naruto, as the Zack smashed his foot in Naruto's head, burying it more into the ground. As Mito started to cry, she picked herself up as she rushed forward. The Zack turned towards her. "Kneel," he said. As a force crashed on her shoulders, she smashed into the ground violently, her head shaking as it did. Ino went through hand sign. At this point, she would try anything. "Fire style," she said. "Fireball jutsu." The Zack merely smirked as he waved his hand as a pressure blew away the fireball. "Is that all you possess, human?" he said, as he grabbed Naruto by the hair. As he looked over at all of them, blood was just seeping from all of Naruto's body. It barely looked like he was alive anymore. "Big brother," Ino cried out. "You can't die. You just can't," she said. Naruto narrowed his eyes around. He could barely see. He saw Sasuke over to the side. It was then a golden cube appear as he flicked it towards Sasuke. "What was that?" said the Zack. "Still trying to get help, are you?" The golden cube landed right in front of Sasuke. As at that moment Sasuke saw what it was. As the golden cube got large, and Itachi's body came out of it. A dreadful look came on Sasuke's face. For Naruto to be doing this, he doesn't think that he's going to survive this. As Mito looked over, "Big brother," she said, tears streaming down her face, because Naruto was not responding to her. This Zack then dropped Naruto. It seems like you really love him. As he saw Ino crying as well. "You too." Momoshiki was standing there along with Kinshiki. As Momoshiki saw something dashing towards him, but he raised his hand as he caught Fu's fist. It was then that the entire ground erupted in crystals, coming towards them, as chains exploded from Karin's back as they came towards Momoshiki. But Kinshiki created an axe as he jumped in the way, as he smashed all the attack. Momoshiki then grabbed Fu's hand as he swung around and threw her towards the side. As she crashed down violently, she got up as her entire body started to hum with the Bichu chakra inside of her. "Stop hurting him! Stop hurting him!" she screamed as her eyes started to change. "Another one," said the Zack. It seems like this planet has a lot of people with beasts inside of them." He then looked down at Naruto to see Naruto not moving. "So is this it? Are you finally submitting, brother?" he asked, as he grabbed Naruto by the hair and picked him up, looking deep into his eyes. The Zack then smiled. "You know what? I've got a better idea," he said. "I'll spare your little planet because of your determination. Throughout the years, no one has ever stand up to me. There are still many planets out there, And having someone as you on my side, to be able to crush my foes before they even come to me. Seeing that you're able to take down 50 of my soldiers by yourself, you will do wonderful as my subordinate. And stand by my side. What do you say about that? Put him down, said Mito. Enough of your babbling, girl. He's coming with me. Say your goodbyes because this is the last time you ever see him. What? Said Ino. He is my brother after all. He should be at my side. None of you are his family. I just realized something. Taking you along with me is better than just taking your power. You can fight for me and do as I command. That will be much better, he said, before he smashed Naruto's head in the ground once more, knocking him out cold. As the Zack chuckled, Momoshiki, he said, Kinshiki, let's go. The three of them started to levitate off the ground, as Mito and Ino could only cry out Naruto's name. As he was unconscious, he was out cold, as everyone watched a gruesome scene as he was taken away from them. Fu crying her eyes out along with the other girls as they watched them soar up into the sky. The moment that happened, the light, that usual light in Mito's eyes, just vanished. And in Ino's as well. It was like they were broken. As the only thing could be heard was the cries of the both of them and Fu as well, and the other girls, as they watched Naruto got taken away from them, just like that. None of them could do anything. Time skip. Naruto was strapped down in a chamber with some strange liquid inside of it. There was a strange object on his head as his body was being electrified inside. The thing was shocking through his mind. The Zack stepped forward. What did you find? I'm afraid that his mind was cleared. What do you mean? The Zack asked, as there was a woman standing there with a clipboard in her hand. It seems like he was responsible for that. I can tell that he tampered with his own mind to probably hide the identity of the traitors here. It seems like he doesn't want to give them up. So is it completely clear? Yes, before I even went in there, his mind was already erased about them. I see no connection between him and any other Otsutsukis. The only thing I saw was the god of death talking to him. And two others, one known as Hamura and the other one known as Hagoromo, saying that Kaguya was their mother as well. It seemed like she had other kids on Earth. Is that so? Yes, my lord. But he erased everything else. He knew he was going to be captured. See how clever my brother was. So what now, sir? Are you going to keep him alive? Of course. I was thinking at first just to take his power, but I realized now having him by his side would be a lot more better, to squash my enemies before they can even reach me. So is it done? Yes. It was hard, but I erased everything about that girl and Earth. His mind is completely blank. The Zack smiled to himself. Naruto, he said. I like that name. Naruto the Destroyer, and the Zack the Will Breaker. The Zack then chuckled. But guys, that'll be ending this episode right here. Remember to stay in tune for what if Naruto was born in the Uzumaki clan. And later on over Anime King 2, I'm going to be posting a new episode of what if Naruto pushed himself to his limit. But for now, I'm out. See you guys soon. Peace.